Welcome to another edition of Loyalty360's Thought Leadership and Loyalty series. Today we're here with Bond, which makes it simple to put your message into anyone's hands.
Hi, this is Matthew White. I am the sales director at Bond. We are a technology company that specializes in robotically written notes that we use for many different customers.
So what would you say is the biggest challenge your clients face today when trying to drive customer loyalty, and how do you recommend they measure efficacy?
For us specifically, as a company that's kind of founded in sending thank you notes or notes for appreciation and gratitude, there's not a lot of metrics for that. It's hard to track ROI. But as we work with more and more businesses, particularly in like the e-commerce space or in the technology space, there's a couple of simple things that these companies are familiar with, such as redemption codes, adding URLs, and just really A/B testing everything. We're an offline product. A lot of the people that we work with are using digital means such as email outreach, so to take a note like ours and kind of test that. And again, with a code or URL against what they're doing digitally is the best way for us to show results. Outside of e-commerce, we work with a lot of people that are looking for donations, who are looking to sell season tickets, who are looking to invite people to come do an open house for real estate, for example. So all of these things are very manageable as long as our clients are letting us know how they want to track it and that they're also keeping that data on their side.
What are the biggest challenges and opportunities for brands and marketers today? And if you could recommend one thing to a client or a prospective client, what would that be?
The challenge for sure, in terms of an era right now that is so technologically driven, is that consumers have so many options. And that's fantastic as a consumer. Think about booking a flight, the amount of websites alone you can go to is fantastic in terms of price comparison and finding dates that you want. But the one thing that this does not foster, all of this kind of technologically driven personalization, is loyalty. That is by far the biggest challenge that brands have, that a name brand doesn't necessarily keep customers to them anymore. And even just like small bits of personal touch don't necessarily do it. I think that's the biggest challenge, is convincing a customer that you truly care about them. And I think personalizing experiences is the best way to do that. It's a staple of what we talk about here when we're offering these handwritten notes as a way of reaching out to your customers, because you not only want to make them feel special, but you want to prove that you've looked into them, that you've researched them, that you want to make sure you understand what it is about your company they like, what it is about your company they're frustrated with, and striving to make every customer feel like they really are your only customer. We have seen dramatic financial positive results with our clients when they take a little time and spend a little bit of money to prove to these people that they really know who you are, what you're about, what you like about their company, what kinds of products you like to have. And when you do that, showing gratitude and appreciation to that customer not only feels good, and it's going to change how they think about you, but it is a very smart financial decision.
And how sophisticated would you say the loyalty and CX initiatives of most brands are today?
Wide variety. We have companies that work with us in terms of looking at everybody that signed up for their service in that month, for example. So we get a bulk upload of names and addresses with a personal message to be sent to them. And then we have other people on the opposite end of the spectrum that are using things like Marketo and CRM integrations, where, let's say, their Salesforce, for example, in real time can send a handwritten note to someone when they just had a meeting with them. So there's truly a range in terms of how they try to connect with customers through our product. It could be something that's very regimented on a schedule, or it could be something where it's spur of the moment, and maybe you didn't have a meeting with them, you just thought about a client that you have a good relationship with, you haven't spoke to, and you use us, but you use it through technology, through an API call, or a Zapier integration. So it really does range, and I don't think it's specific to the size of a company. We actually have very large amounts of small and medium-sized businesses that are doing things from a technology-driven standpoint, and large companies that are doing it where we're just receiving monthly lists, and vice versa. So it truly is all over.
And what is the single most important thing that you have done or are doing that helps your clients increase loyalty?
I think, again, it goes back to what we were talking about before in making customers feel special, and that you're making an effort to do something particular to them and what they're looking for. And that really can only happen by marrying online and offline data and making sure that the content you're sending to them speaks to them. We have clearly seen in a variety of case studies, whether it's retail and e-commerce or technology, professional services like financial and healthcare and real estate, that when you show you care about someone, that feeling tends to be reciprocated. So, thinking about a world where people have so many options, whether it's driven from a technology standpoint or not, people have many, many options as a consumer today. And the one thing that you want to focus on to keep them there is that they feel their relationship with you as a company will grow. It's not just the revenue amount that you're looking for from a customer, it's what are we going to do to reward this person for spending that money with us. And a focus on that, and by making sure you're tracking how they interact with your company in any way possible and using that data to inform how you message to them is the most important thing.
And if you could ask one brand or a competitor or even a client one question, what would it be? Like, pretend you have a crystal ball. Who would you ask, and what would you ask?
Ooh, interesting. Competitor. Well, from a competitor standpoint, I think so. We're a company that's about 3 years old right now. I've been on the team just about 2 years, and when we were really first getting started, there wasn't a lot of competition. In that short period of time, we've seen many people spring up, and what I always want to talk to our clients about if they're evaluating us versus some of these competitors is thinking about the authenticity of that product. Right now, there are more and more opportunities to do direct marketing and mail to consumers the way you can through bonds, but the one thing that we see where there's a major drop-off is the authenticity. These companies are not using a real pen with ink the way we do. They're doing it printed. That's a very dead giveaway that you are part of a mass mailer in terms of being a consumer. We're looking at notes where we see competitors send them out and they're using fonts. Human beings do not write in fonts. Their handwriting changes from note to note. Your arm gets tired. These are all little human uniquenesses that we take into account when we're digitizing one of our clients' handwriting, for example, so that our robots can write to their customers in their actual handwriting. So I think in terms of a competitor, the question would be how much do you focus on authenticity as the sole idea of your product versus are you just trying to find a cheap way to surprise someone with what is essentially a mass mailer? In terms of brands and customers, again, how well do you really know your customers? How well do you know them as an individual? How well do you know your customer base? And then how well did they know that? How well do your customers know that you research them and that you care about them and that you want to be able to curate an experience for them as opposed to just being one in a million customers that they have? So, what have you done to show that you're willing to improve that relationship?
And finally, what do you think is the future of customer loyalty?
The future of customer loyalty. I think we're in a time right now, particularly for us, for example, as a company that's selling handwritten notes. Particularly I came from digital media. I was selling digital advertising for over a decade. And I came along right as digital media was coming around and it was the new wow factor. You weren't paying wasteful amounts of money because impressions were tracked on an impression by impression basis. These things were trackable, and so much of my time was kind of spent selling against print. And now, over a decade later, we're looking at handwritten notes as something that can perform as a sort of clutter buster, because in the time you and I started speaking today, I probably received 5 digital email offers from somebody. And that stuff becomes really, blind to consumers. So figuring out a way to look at the landscape and see what really are the most effective ways to reach out to someone is very important in building customer loyalty, because you can't stick to just one. You can't stick to email. That's certainly something now that people are going to ignore a little bit. And you can't just use handwritten notes, or you can't just use print. You've got to figure out how to use technology to your advantage in terms of speaking to these customers, not on a daily basis, but on a frequent basis. There's, again, nothing more important to a human being than feeling appreciated, feeling loved, feeling respected, and interacting with those customers is the only way to make that happen. So I think when you can find a way to create not only personal, but relevant, useful, seamless tools and interactions to give with customers, that's going to be how you really continue to build loyalty.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your insights, and have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too.